Detta avsnitt av BSTV sponsras av Sierra Nevada Brewing Company. Know what I mean?
In the history of the world.
Well,
Britain.
yeah, of Great Britain at least, in the 70s. But it's run out. How did we get to Tupperware from Delaware?
We were talking about this.
This might be a bit pish, but you're going to have to live with that.
Me or the this collab beer from Dogfish Head and Nynäs Ham and Dogfish Head is actually located in the state of Delaware.
Well, we were saying, like, no offence
like
whatsoever
Tupperware.
to these people living it. I mean, I consider myself to be pretty up on general knowledge. You know, I think I'm quite well educated.
Are we on, Trev, by the way?
Yeah.
Are we on?
Not academically, but I think I'm quite well informed. You know, you and me, we can have the same sort of discussions and stuff. But it's like, Delaware is one of those states you don't know a lot about.
You don't, do you?
Why is that?
I don't know. I mean, what is it? The Diamond State?
Now, you said that earlier. You know what it is. You're just showing off.
I don't.
You didn't check
honestly,
that?
I don't, and I'm probably wrong. But I seem to remember because you've got Philadelphia at the top, haven't you? And then you've got Washington at the thing, and it's a diamond. Is it?
Oh, really?
I don't know. I'm probably making it up. Anyway, if you're from Delaware, well, if you're actually
do apologise.
Calagione, of course. And
but then again, if you're from Delaware, what do you know about Essex? Nothing.
Nothing. Exactly. Which is probably for the best,
just as well.
Okay, listen. Should we crash into the beer tray?
Go on in.
This is a pretty. Hello, everyone. By the way, welcome to Beer Sweden Television, the only television recorded in the sunshine here in the north of Sweden.
In Darren's garden.
In my garden, in front of what looks like a. This is urban. Well, actually,
that's not what that is. It's a wine.
Pallet, isn't it? It's a pallet. It looks like a pallet.
It's a wine.
Wine.
It's for having wine.
Shit!
Vines.
I got attacked by a wasp, Trev.
It was a big bugger and all.
It was actually.
I can't get the words out today.
Oh, but anyway, listen. We're here in the back garden. It's beautiful. The weather here in Umeå, in the north of Sweden, Europe,
it's been summer for a month.
Has been sensational. We're getting a bit of colour, aren't we, Trev? Well, I am.
Well, I'm not.
You look pasty. You look like Pillsbury Doughboy. I, on the other hand,
fat and white and translucent.
Need to get my hair cut though, Trev. Summer haircut, a bit like yours. You know, take it all off. Take it all off. Anyway, listen. Enough of that. We're going to talk about this beer. Very excited about this beer when it actually was announced on Beer Sweden, of course, exclusively, Trev.
I thought he was down south last week.
Oh, this was another one. That was another one.
Oh.
This one, obviously, because we're obviously mucking around with time again.
Continuing,
That's right. Was done a few month, 5-6 weeks ago.
This one?
Yeah, this one.
Okay.
Dogfish Head, one of the most iconic, coolest, trendiest, just respected craft breweries in the United States of America.
Even though they come from Delaware.
Even though they come from Delaware, which is apparently a beautiful state, by the way, Trev.
But not cool.
All my best US friends come from Delaware.
I don't know anything about Delaware.
Right. Is that they came over to Nynäs Ham, of all places, you might say, but I don't know why, maybe because there's some cool beers coming out of there. But they came to Nynäs Ham and made, first time ever really there was a significant collab beer being brewed in this country by a US craft brewery. I say first because it's happened again since then. We'll come back to that later. And they turn up in Nynäs Ham. It's almost a surreal thing. Sam, Dogfish Head Sam, and Dr. Pat as well. Dr. Pat was known as the kind of Indiana Jones of ancient beer. He's the guy that delves into the history books and rediscovers, literally sometimes digs up old beer styles and so on. And with Sam's help, they actually try and, resuscitate them, reinvigorate them, and bring them back in a kind of new modern format. And they brew often with other brewers, in this collaborative effort.
Cool.
And this is exactly what this is. Really cool idea, fantastic idea. There's been, I think, 6 ancient ales. This is the 7th in the series. I'm not exactly sure if I'm right on that one.
So they've actually
just Arketyp in Swedish. In the Swedish market, it's called Arketyp.
Which is, of course, just the same word in English.
I was there.
Hold it up a bit more.
Can I hold it up for you? I was there on the day.
Okay.
We were the only media there, Trev. And I tell you what, it was one of the most memorable brew days that I've ever seen. It was just, I was walking around, you know what I'm like, I was walking around with a big smile on my face, just trying to take it all in. You've got these guys that, if you're ever in the beer scene, you're reading about them and what they're doing all the time. They really are quite legendary.
You mean like something like James Last, that legendary?
Oh yeah, I would say. Yeah.
Or Lonnie Donegan, or
Kenny Rogers. I'm talking
That
big.
legendary?
I'm talking big, yeah.
Okay. Did you know them before?
And they're there. And no, I've never. Oh, I've met Sam in a like.
You knew of
CBC,
each other?
in a festival where it's like
Okay,
he
yeah.
meets everyone and shakes your hand. But other than that, this was a real. We had a lot of time to talk, and it was just awesome, as the Americans will say, right?
Awesome.
So here we are, a few weeks later. This is the beer that's actually, when you see this, of course, it will actually just be coming out to Systembolaget on the 1st of June. Some of these bottles, very pricey. I think this would be one of the most expensive bottles of beer ever actually sold in Sweden.
Really?
10%. I think it's £300 a litre.
So we're talking for that. What's that? 250.
This is what you get, right? Yeah, so it's one of those cute 250ml bottles. It's obviously got all the story behind it, of course, of the ancient ale.
But what?
10%.
Hang on, I know I keep interrupting you. It's always like this when we do a new batch of not new batch. Sorry, when we do a brand new live episode.
Obviously live.
When we do a brand new live episode, we have to get back into sync again.
Yeah. Get back in the sink again.
What was this beer originally?
This beer originally. I'm glad you asked me, Trev. And I've actually, because I haven't got all the knowledge in my head, Trev. I can't keep it.
But you know, more or less.
I'm a bit like
English, German. What?
Look, I'll tell you what. No, Danish.
Oh, okay.
Trev.
So it can't be that old.
No. Oh, actually, it's 3,500 years old, Trev.
Oh, that's
I don't
quite
know
old.
if you call that old or not.
So we're talking Vikingish.
We're talking sort of Vikingish. Yeah. Let me just read. And
Go on then.
I'll just quote this little bit.
Go on then.
The beer itself, which is to say it's about 10%, was developed with the help of a chemical, botanical, and pollen evidence from a 3,500-year-old Danish drinking vessel. The vessel, made of birch bark, was found in the tomb of a leather-clad woman who apparently, according to Dr. Pat, was rather sort of scantily dressed. You know, quite exciting actually. If you can imagine a 3,500-year-old corpse.
Oh yeah, I've no trouble with that.
You'd have no trouble. Who Dr. Pat says was probably an upper-class dancer or artist. Pole dancer.
Lily Marlene. But
so basically they found this
Really?
vessel, right? Then they basically crack the code, and then they try and work out what was in it. Now here's the thing.
are we
I'm
talking
speaking with-
DNA and stuff?
I was talking, they actually, they break it down to the molecular level. Here's what's so cool. Trev. I was speaking with Dr. Pat in the back of a car on the way back from Nynäs, and I was saying to him, the problem is, or what he was saying to me, the problem is that they can kind of figure out what went into the beer, but they don't have any kind of idea as to ratios.
No, of course, yeah.
Because there's no evidence of that. So it really is kind of like bits of a jigsaw, or pigsaw, or puzzle, I was going to say, and you're trying to sort of piece it all back together again, taking your best guess, and of course brewing it in a modern environment, in modern machinery as well. So it's not. There's a lot of ifs and buts when you're brewing a beer like this, but the template certainly is the botanical and factual evidence that they actually get from the vessels themselves, and tombs and vessels and so on and so forth.
But 3,500 years is so long ago. I didn't even know, like, ale. Is it 3,500? I've got no reference to that.
No, 3,500 is a long time ago, isn't it? Was beer being made 3,500 years?
That's what I'm asking you.
Of course it was. It was made a lot longer than that. We go 8,000 years back into history. So this is actually really interesting. Of course, it's Scandinavian. This is the point and why Dogfish Head came over, obviously, to Scandinavia.
Well,
I think cred to Swedish brewing scene, may I say, that actually they've looked at Sweden as the place to brew this beer. I think it is a very big thumbs up to how far the Swedish beer scene is coming from a global perspective.
Absolutely, respect and all that.
Right,
yeah.
listen, what goes into this beer? It's 10%, so it's pretty punchy. It is made with birch syrup, a whole bucket of that, Trev, which apparently is incredibly expensive. It is also made with lots of honey. It is made with cranberries and lingonberries, and they add those to the mash tun. It's fascinating. Actually, what I'm going to do, Trev, and I'm going to self-promote here a little bit, because I don't like doing that, do I? I don't like self-promoting, Trev.
Oh, I hadn't even noticed that.
No, I'm not one for that, because otherwise people accuse me of hype.
What
and
is
stuff like
studio?
That. Well, that's my craft brewery.
This studio is actually your studio, is
yeah,
it?
that would be mine, but we don't want to talk
But
about
don't stand up or anything.
I don't want to talk about that. See the whole T-shirt.
No, don't stand up, because I'm not zooming.
Very soon in a store near you. Anyway, the point being that if you look on the blog or the online magazine, Trev, you'll see my recollections of the day, both in pictures and words. I mean, I'm saying too much now. Read that. It's really fascinating how this beer was made and how intuitive it was. two brewers, very respected, Lasse Eriksson from Nynäs and of course Sam from Dogfish Head, getting together and basically creating a beer. Together, and they're rolling with the punches, adjusting the ingredients live and direct, and as it was happening we end up with this beer. Fascinating. There's also Porsche in here, a little bit of that, so there's some spices and some really sort of herby sort of edge to it too. Should we try some, Trev?
I'm fascinated by this, you know.
It is fascinating.
3,500 years is a long time. No, I'm not joking.
I think we've established.
No, I mean a lot in the sense of like, if it had been, you know, AD, you've got some sort of reference, haven't you?
Yes. Yes, you have. But I'm in the here and now, Trev, and I'm trying to do it. First thing out. Sour. Cranberries, yeah, coming through big time. They are the dominant flavour and effect as well, because you know the kind of drying sort of effect of cranberries at the end. There's obviously not a lot of bitterness here. The hops are there as a support, but they're not supposed to be the star of this particular show.
So it's just stringent.
It's a very herby, cranberry, bitter,
stringent
herby finish, a stringent finish, yeah, and that drying effect, you know, that you get from the sort of, we always say gin and tonic, quinine sort of vibe. Fruity too, lovely nose to it. Obviously it's 10%, you're not going to expect huge head and you don't get one. Nice pretty colour, very, very rich orange.
Can I have a little...
Do you want to try some? Very different type of beer, of course. In terms of when to drink this, I think this has got a couple of years before it really hits all the notes.
Oh.
Do you like that?
I like this whole stringent, not acidic, but as you said, sour.
Sour.
Makes your tongue go.
Yeah, it just sort of goes. You can contract.
I love that. Now, I'm getting a flashback memory thing. What is that? Not just because I don't drink gin and tonic. It's something else.
Is it Campari or something like that?
No, I don't drink drinks.
Oh, don't you?
But could be bitter lemons. Do you know what I mean? It's just that little
oregano. I'm getting rosemary in there. I'm getting all sorts of herbs. This is like the old shelf rack above the oven. You know, it's very, very complex. There's some nice sweetness in there too. I'd like to see this one evolve a little bit more. 10%, Trev. Yes, it's got a little bit of heat to it, but I tell you what, even now, young, that's pretty well considered.
I don't think of it as an assault.
No.
At all.
No, you think
but I'm not sure I could drink more than that bottle.
No. This is going to be my finishing point, really. Let's just click up the Systembolaget details, if it's still there. Well, after June the 1st, I think this is going to be a quick one. There's a very limited amount of bottles, and I think they're going to sell out pretty quickly. It's very much one of these showcase beers. You know, take it around your friends to a dinner party or so on, and share it amongst lots of people. It's a taste sensation rather than a drinking beer. And for that, I think maybe it's worth the money, because it's a piece of Swedish brewing history, in my opinion. That sounds a bit hypey, but I think it's true.
So we're talking about 60 crowns for that, basically.
Actually, I'm not sure, Trev, how much it's going to cost.
You said 300 a litre, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's 60 crowns, isn't it?
It's got to be somewhere around there. It's going to be. It's an expensive beer, but it's a bit of a statement beer too. What do you think, Trev?
The whole thing is interesting.
It is fascinating, isn't it?
I didn't know about all this. Rebooting old beers. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, no.
And when you said old, I thought you meant some 100 years ago from like.
No. This is we're delving back centuries. So really, I think in terms of rating, this is a tough one again. Because if it was the concept, I give it 5 out of 5. You know, because I just love the idea.
You can't compare this to a session beer.
No, I mean you can't, and yet we must.
And you don't want to be elitist at the same time.
No, I don't. But I think people try this. People, if you can get hold of it, try it, because it's fascinating beer. I think it actually makes you clever the more you drink it.
Well, the thing is, Darren, the demographic, the target audience for what you're doing at this second, not just Beer Sweden in general or the beer scene. This beer is for the connoisseur. For the connoisseur. So,
like what we are.
Well, I ain't, but you is.
Oh.
But the price is in that case pretty irrelevant.
Yeah.
I think you should go after. I think you should mark it on that, and then in that case, give it a good score.
On what? On what?
On the connoisseur element.
Okay, on the connoisseur element, then I'm going to give this, because this is the intrigue factor.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
Absolutely.
This is the closest that we can come to drinking a 3,500-year-old beer found near the skirt of a scantily dressed Danish woman. who's 3,500 years old, Trev. 4.4.
Are you sure it wasn't a specimen jar they found?
I sincerely hope not.
Cheers and beers.
Cheers and beers.